Yes. All right. Let's move on and talk about what's going on down in my new hometown, my chosen city of residence, Bloomington, where on Tuesday, right-wing pundit Tucker Carlson headlined a Turning Point USA rally on Bloomington's IU campus, covering for the late Charlie Kirk, who has been rendered unavailable to helm his campus tour this year. So Governor Mike Braun played fluffer for the conspiracy theorist and misinformation superspreader after earlier that day signing a proclamation declaring October 1st Turning Point USA Civic Engagement Day across the state. Wearing his trademark all-blue working man cosplay outfit, Braun warmed up the Timu Hitler Youth rally by urging young people to embrace values of faith, family, and community. Values, he said, Kirk was never afraid to champion. Now, Braun encouraged the student-heavy crowd to go into the lion's den of campus and, quote, be the foot soldiers for Kirk's Christian nationalist values and grow it into the place where this is more common on universities than the other stuff you often see in universities. And, quote, other stuff like woke liberal diversity and curiosity and empathy. All of which Braun is using state power to stifle at our once great state institutions of higher learning. Now, Carlson, at the top of the bill, covered a broad range of topics, including abortion, Israel, and illegal aliens, both earthly and extraterrestrial, and made claims sounding a whole lot like the white nationalist great replacement theory, as he is prone to do. Now, in typical contrarian Carlson fashion, the mound of bullshit was accompanied by glimmers of truth and moments of almost getting it. For example, and here I'm reading from the Indy Star write-up of the event, in response to a question about what woke means, Carlson agreed on the importance of having a definition before describing wokeness as an attempt by the powerful to make the less powerful shut up. No. The attendee then moved to the topic of how billionaires can influence elections, which Carlson agreed with. He didn't align himself with a specific political party either. Okay, see, here's Carlson, contrarian, hinting at truth a little bit. I kind of hate the Republican Party, he said, adding that Democrats, however, are evil. And as an aside, I think it's funny here because, I think both of us, in our ways, would describe the way we feel about the Democratic Party in the same way. It's like, yes, I hate the Democratic Party, but no, the Republicans are evil. Irony. One attendee asked Carlson if he ever felt trapped in the system of mainstream media and the outrage machine, as it were. And Carlson replied that he did sometimes feel held captive by the channels he worked at. Before acknowledging, and this is my favorite quote of the whole article, he says, "It's totally possible that I'm working toward evil and don't know it, but I don't believe that. I actually think I'm doing the right thing." So close. So close.
It's so far.
Yeah, just like all of this, I try to find the grain of truth, and I think there are people who are, snowed by or have the wool pulled over their eyes by this kind of like faux populism on the right. And I think good people can get tricked by this. And so I'm not trying to talk down to people who are necessarily fans, but I think you just need to follow the money, right? And look, and this is an astroturfed organization that is just billionaires trying to push policy ideas and the underlying substructure of values that will let them keep getting richer and keep robbing you, right? So, is free debate a good thing in a free society? 100%. Like, I always want to hear from people who disagree with me, even if they're crazy far-right people who I totally disagree with. I want to hear, and figure out, like Carlson said, maybe I am wrong, right? And I want to get lots of exposure to other ideas to make sure of that. But that's not what this is, right? This is the same party. I don't care if he says, he kind of hates the Republican Party. That's the party he's propping up. And they're the people who are taking books out of libraries. They're the people who are opposed to the word diversity. They don't want conflicting ideas. They don't want conflicting backgrounds. They don't want challenges. Who can go report at the Pentagon right now, right? It's gaslighting to pretend like this party cares about free speech or freedom of information. It's absolutely becoming a totalitarian state, and pretending you have to hound the last remaining bastions of even if it's annoying, like cultural, like identity politics stuff that is not my cup of tea, like how is that causing a problem for you right now compared to the government overreach you see, compared to the just absolute clampdown on free speech and free debate? The fact that they're aimed the way they are reveals the whole game, which is not anything about freedom, and it's everything about getting rid of your opponents. So, foot soldiers, I think, is right. Stormtroopers might be another word of what they're trying to look to create. And yeah, I feel bad for people who this is the only whiff of populism they've ever been exposed to, because I think compared to the stale and stagnant political structure, it might look appealing. But I just encourage people, dig deeper, follow the money. It's all bullshit. And I think it's pretty easy to tell that once you start scratching around.
Zach, if I recall, after Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk's unfortunate assassination, what is it, month plus? I don't think it's been quite 2 months yet, but it's been several weeks ago now. In the wake of that, there was this crackdown on political speech from the right, talking about how now is not the right time. We got to respect this legacy. We need to turn down the temperature. Got to quit calling people fascists, even when they do fascist stuff. What do you think about our governor, Mr. Braun, in the wake of that, after all this talk about turning down the temperature, going on to my alma mater and your current place of education's campus, talking about young conservatives being foot soldiers on campus? Doesn't sound great. Not great, Bob. Not great, Bob.
Yeah, I want to first encapsulate that the university at IU-Bloomington is not the one that I grew up in anymore, unfortunately. We have seen an erosion of norms and expectations and bylaws that the current president and the board of trustees renewed and agreed to be bound by them, and they have broken them over and over again. What am I talking about? I'm talking about administrators being relieved midterm without talking to the dean of said department. I am talking about CEA 20 complaints where professors are ejected or suspended without due process or involving of the AAUP that represents professors in these situations. They're left completely out of the loop. And how was Pamela Whitten installed in the first place? By bypassing the entire infrastructure of people that are supposed to be involved in such an important decision that impacts not just the university, not just the county, but all of the other universities and counties around it, as IU-Bloomington sets the mark and flame for all the other branches. We are now ranked as one of the worst universities in the country for free speech. And recently, there was the suspension of IDS very temporarily. And thankfully, Purdue was not having that. Some of their people lobbied and got the press release out and shared and sent some of them to IU students so that they would not miss the article. But it's just the latest in a long scheme. To Tucker Carlson and Mike Braun, it is despicable to see the talking of honoring someone while asking for essentially open warfare of words and foot soldiers, as they put it, in the streets. Many people remember, as it was national headline news not all that long ago, when there were snipers on the IMU when students were trying to peacefully protest and the guard were brought in. I will say that I believe Mayor Thompson did the only thing she could do in that situation and stopped Bloomington PD from being involved. But overall, we see a propaganda machine that is asking young people to essentially take up arms on the streets of IU and change the status quo to what they like it to be, not what academic freedom and the long history of IU states it should be for all students that come from all over the place.
It's certainly very, very concerning to see such things on at a place I love. And just the IU's reputation. We're becoming an SEC school in football and in academics, and I don't know if I like that trade-off. In fact, I'm pretty sure I do not.